Hey everyone, I'm Anne-Marie from Hello Basque, and today we are talking about Basque immigration to Latin America. I'm doing a series of videos on Basque immigration. Where did Basque people go all around the world? And today is the big one because I talk a lot about the Basque diaspora, right? That's people of Basque descent all over the world, but most of them are in Latin America. I'm from the US, but we're small. We are a small community compared to what's going on in Latin America. There are millions of people of Basque descent down south. Before I get into this, I'm just going to preface this by saying I am not a historian. I am just a person who has read a few things on the topic. So I cannot vouch to the 100% historical accuracy of what I'm about to tell you, but this is the general impression of Basques in Latin America that I've gotten from my research. Why are there so many places and people with Basque names in Latin American countries? Well, it all comes down to the Spanish. Obviously, Latin America colonized by the Spanish. Columbus sailed out there in 1492 looking for India, didn't make it. But who came with Columbus? A lot of Basque people. He sailed on Basque ships. The crews that manned those ships were mostly Basque because Basques were good sailors. So from the beginning, Basques were there, and throughout Spanish colonization of the Americas, Basques continued to be there. It is believed that up to almost half of the Spanish settlers in the New World were actually Basque people. Spain needed a lot of people to build their empire, so Basques went over throughout the 16th to 18th centuries as bureaucrats in the military, navy, clergy, and they set themselves up as traders, merchants, ranchers. They were in mining, like every industry that Spain had going on in the colonies in America, basically Basques were there, and a lot of time Basques were running the show. So in many societies in the colonies, Basques kind of ended up in the elite, the aristocrats. So Basques were the largest ethnic group of people coming from Spain. Now, why were there so many Basque people coming over? You know, Spain, like the country, there's a lot of different groups within Spain. Why was it predominantly so many Basques coming to Latin America? A couple of things I've talked about before. Basques had really, really big families, and the Basque country is really small, so there's not a lot of land to go around, and inheritance tradition stated that only the firstborn would inherit the entire farm or whatever assets the family had. So basically everybody else had to go make money somewhere else and do something. And the Americas, so promising, so much land, so much opportunity. So a lot of people went over for that. But I did read something interesting. I don't know if it's entirely true, but let me tell you. I read that part of the people who were allowed to even go to the Spanish colonies is that they had to be racially pure. They had to have pure blood. And Spain, obviously with the Reconquista and the history of the Iberian Peninsula, there were a lot of people in Spain who had recent Jewish and Muslim ancestry, and the super Catholic state wasn't about that. They didn't want a bunch of former Jews and Muslims colonizing the Americas. They wanted pure Catholics, pure racially whatever. Creepy stuff. And Basques were thought to be a pure race of people having pure blood. So a lot of Basques were allowed to go over to the colonies, kind of no questions asked, whereas other people had to go through their family tree and prove that they had pure blood. Please, if you know more about this in the comments, let me know. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just something I read on the internet that I thought was kind of creepy, and make of that what you will. So a lot of Basques ended up in the Americas in the beginning of the Spanish settlement period. But then there was another wave of immigration coming out of the Basque country in the 19th century. There were tons of wars happening in Europe, the Napoleonic Wars, the Carlist Wars, and so that also affected people in Iparralde, the northern Basque country, also known as the French side. So it's not just people from the Spanish side that went over to the Americas, but also some French Basques as well. So there were more people coming from the Basque country in the 19th century, obviously trying to escape wars, but also seek economic opportunities. These were mostly single guys, and then once they established themselves, got some money, made some business, whatever, they would send over for wives, but also it was a chain migration thing. Classic story, the Basques basically would just send for help. Once they set up businesses, they would send for helpers and workers from their hometown or their relatives or whoever. So a lot of Basques ended up bringing up other Basques, and the population just grew. During this time is also when Escueletxeak were set up. So these Basque houses, these cultural centers, these Basque clubs, uniting Basque people, and there are a lot of them, tons of them, still around in Latin American countries today. And then we have a third wave of migration that came through in the 20th century, people escaping the Spanish Civil War and the Franco dictatorship. Also, more and more were coming over to Latin America because of that. So now you have tons of people of Basque descent in Latin America. Some of them know it, some of them don't. Some of them, you're very involved in Eskualetxeak and the Basque clubs. Others have no idea they have Basque names. But there are millions of people of Basque descent in Latin America. Some of the major countries that have a lot of people of Basque descent that I've read of: Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Peru, Uruguay, Mexico, Cuba, and Puerto Rico. Oh, did I say Venezuela? Venezuela too. There are also some famous people of Basque descent coming out of Latin America. You have revolutionary figures, kind of the ones that led the charge for independence from Spanish colonization, were of Basque descent. So Simón Bolívar, Che Guevara, and Pancho Villa are kind of the major ones people know of. You have a lot of presidents of different Latin American countries who were of Basque descent, but I like pop culture a little bit more. If we're talking pop stars, Juanes, Colombian pop star, Juanes is of Basque descent, and Ricky Martin himself has said that he had some ancestors coming from the Basque country. And when I was looking up celebrities or famous people of Basque descent coming from Latin America, all I found were men. I couldn't find a single woman. So I don't know if that's because of the history of women really not being allowed to achieve anything, or that their achievements were not recorded throughout history, or that Google search is a sexist algorithm that won't show me any women. I don't know. But in the comments, if you know of any Basque women famous in Latin America, please tell us a story. I really would like to hear them. So there you go. There are a lot of people of Basque descent in Latin America, mostly because of the Spanish colonization of these countries. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the Hella Basque YouTube channel, bringing you new videos about the Basque country and Basque people every Thursday, so be sure to check back with us. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Aristocrats, right? I don't know, I watched Aristocats as a kid, so now every time I say that word, I have to second guess it. Aristocrats, right.